PNG National Identity Project launched today. IMF boss says global financial recovery remains uneven. And Manam Summit resolution presented to government today.
This is National EMTV News with Tokana Hasavi.
Good evening and welcome to Thursday's news. Thanks for joining us. Global recovery from the 2008 financial crisis remains uneven and is weaker than expected. That's from the Director for International Monetary Fund, Naoyuki Shinohara. He was speaking today at the opening of Southeast Asian Central Bank Governors Conference in Port Moresby.
Emerging markets and developing countries.
Shinohara was speaking from the IMF World Economic Outlook report, which gave projections on the global and regional economy.
Global recovery this year remains uneven and is proving weaker.
Shinohara said the IMF projects that the world economy will grow by 3.3% this year and will pick up modestly next year to 3.8%. The global outlook and recovery differs from countries and regions, but the impact of the world financial crisis is still felt by advanced nations.
Overall, 6 years after the global financial crisis, we see advanced countries still confronting the legacies of high debt and unemployment.
Slow growth is projected for emerging and developing markets due to weaker medium-term prospects in investments.
Emerging markets and developing countries will continue to be a major driver of global growth, but their growth is likely to be slower than in recent years. This is partly because weaker medium-term prospects are affecting today's investment decisions.
Sarah Aupong, National EMTV News.
A Manam Summit resolution for Manam Islanders was presented to Government Chief Secretary Sir Manasupe Zurino today. The resolution highlights the plight of the Madang provincial government to pass a bill in Parliament for the resettlement of Manam Islanders. Manam Islanders have been living on the mainland of Madang for over 10 years now.
It was a short and brief ceremony at the State Function Room, but very significant for the people of Manam Island and Madang provincial government. Present to receive the resolution on behalf of the Prime Minister Peter O'Neill was Chief Secretary Sir Manasupe Zurino. Madang Governor Jim Kass said the resettlement of the islanders has affected both the Manam Islanders and host landowners of Bogia, causing an outburst by landowners of Bogia and surrounding communities. Governor Kass said for 10 years the option of resettlement has been bypassed or ignored by leaders from provincial and national level.
Our Manam Islanders in the case go about 16,000. Before it becomes a problem, let us once again, as the professional advice from Rapal Volcanic Observatory stated, resettlement is the answer. Madang provincial government, Madang provincial administration is ready. Let us go for resettlement. Thank you.
When receiving the resolution, Sir Manasupe said normal procedures of passing a bill will be followed in preparation for tabling in Parliament early next year.
10 years is an embarrassment for us all of us. Huh? It's 10 years of embarrassment. It's time we take the responsibility, particularly while the political will is there. And Governor, we stand ready to work with you, particularly from the Prime Minister's office, so we can bring in the legislation and start working on our resettlement program.
Usino Bundi MP Anton Yagama, who was instrumental in backing Governor Jim Kass, said the resettlement of Manam Islanders is not normal for PNG culture, but is an option considered following a report by the Rabaul Volcano Observatory.
Sooner you may resettling, the sooner people will go back to normalcy.
A bulk of Manam Islanders and Bogia representatives were not able to attend the program because of cancellation of flights to and from Madang this morning. Jack Lapave Jr., National EMTV News.
Every girl and boy has the right to survive and be healthy, the right to be educated and be loved, and the right to be cared for. Hence, today, children in the nation's capital gathered at the University of Papua New Guinea to commemorate the 25th anniversary on the adoption of the Convention on the Rights of Children.
All children have one thing in common, their right. The right to live and be loved, the right to dream and achieve. United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, today commemorated the 25th anniversary of the Convention on the Rights of Children at the University of Papua New Guinea with children in the nation's capital. Many children in PNG suffer from violence, verbal abuse, physical abuse, and many more. Celebrating Children's Day today indicates that PNG is addressing the issue. UNICEF country representative Baba Dan Papa said the country has made some progress in advancing children's rights over the past 25 years. However, there is still a lot more that needs to be done. Representing children in the country, Tiwana Wong, a grade 6 student at the Korobose International School, gave a moving speech expressing the needs of children in the country.
I would make a change if I could. From the bottom of my heart, I would like to ask our good government to hear our cries and help those children who desperately need to be saved. I count myself lucky because I have everything I need. It will be my wish and my prayer that one day, in the next 25 years, all those unfortunate children will be helped.
I want better health services for children all around Papua New Guinea for the next coming years.
I want better, safer and more quality education for the children of Papua New Guinea for the next coming years.
I want the leaders of Papua New Guinea to hear the cries of children of Papua New Guinea.
I want to choose a future where the government creates greater opportunities for children with special needs.
Over 5 schools in the city took part in the event today, including Josiah Homes. Children took part in face painting, painting and drawing, poetry and other activities to celebrate the day. Judith Kasek, National, MTV News.
Now, for the past 3 nights, we've been receiving updates of the PNG Games. So for a quick preview of Day 4 of the PNG Games, we now cross over live to our sports reporter, Lorraine Genia in Lay City.
Thank you, Takana. NCD now leads the medal tally with additional gold medals, bringing the total to 22. Central is second, followed by the autonomous region of Bougainville. Takana.
Now, thanks for that, Lorraine. The big guns, NCD and Morabe, despite the challenges back and forth by Governors Naro and Parker, haven't really seemed to live up to their words. Lorraine, any remarks on that?
Well, you know, it's just Day 4 and we have 10 more days of competition left, so it's still early days. There are other sports like athletics, which could see East New Britain take over in the medal count, but as I said, Takana, still very early days. Back to you, Takana.
Very true, and that was our sports reporter, Lorraine Genia, live in Lay City. You can stay tuned for more updates in Trukai Sports. Among stories coming up after the break, our special report on the Angao Hospital. Stay with us. Good to have you back with the news. The Angao Memorial Hospital in Lay has been a centre of government's attention over the past 15 months. After almost 2 years of debate on a specific hospital model, the hospital is going through a massive reconstruction, including the welfare of its staff members. Angao got most of the financial support from the PNG government, including the PNG Australian Asylum Centre deals. On tonight's MTV News special report, our reporter Edwin Fidelis takes us back to December 2012 to some important events that led to the transformation of Angao from its deteriorating state to a hospital undergoing a massive reconstruction.
The multi-million-kina reconstruction of the Angao Hospital will open up some of the medical services never before seen in Papua New Guinea. But Angao Memorial Hospital went through a difficult path before it got the recognition it deserved. First, the attack and rape of a female nurse triggered an outraged protest by hospital staff, resulting to the closure of the hospital for at least 2 days. All non-essential medical operations were scaled down. The nurses held a forum and presented a petition to the Morobe provincial government and demanded for proper housing and security. Angao wasn't broke. It gets funding from the national government as well as other sources. In fact, Engau had a 15 million kina sitting in a special project account.
Money that they have right now has to be redirected to make improvements in the general hospital. There is money available. You cannot wait and leave money aside and waiting for a design plan to come about, because it might never happen. And that is why what has been allocated must now be put into good use.
The former board has come under fire from senior members of government who say the hospital should use the money to carry out emergency repairs on existing buildings. But the former board said the redevelopment of Engau should be done according to international standards so that it caters to Papua New Guinea's future needs.
We want to bring those services into Papua New Guinea, especially on affordability, which our people cannot afford to go outside to the Philippines or Singapore or Australia.
After various visits by senior government members, including the Prime Minister, the Engau's former board was reshuffled. Dr. Jim Abrams was appointed the acting CEO, and after almost 2 years of debate, Engau finally got the recognition it deserved.
You know, we've instituted an asbestos management plan, which is certainly the first for Engau, and we adhering to the Australian standard very, very strictly.
More than 500 million kina was given to Engau through the Asylum Centre deal between the Australia and PNG government. An additional 65 million kina was allocated to Engau from the 2014 national budget. In the 2015 national budget, the national government allocated 216 million kina for additional work on Engau and Enga Provincial Hospital.
The government is committed to rebuilding and rehabilitating our hospitals. In 2015, a total of 260 million kina will be provided for major works at Engau Memorial Hospital and the new Enga Provincial Hospital. A further 93 million kina will be distributed for capital works across the remaining provincial hospitals.
Engau is currently undergoing a major reconstruction. Engau has a new hospital plan that hasn't been released publicly. The hospital management says it contains plans to build medical infrastructures to assist Papua New Guineans who only go overseas to get treatment they can't get in the country. Edwin Fidelis, National EMTV News, Leh.
The national government's newly established PNG Science and Technology Secretariat is working around the clock to establish the platform for research and development in PNG. CEO Professor Teatulohi Matainaho discussed the roles and functions of the Secretariat at the 6th PNG Science, Research and Technology Conference at the University of Papua New Guinea. Professor Matainaho admitted the lack of capacity. However, he is adamant that the Secretariat will bridge this gap and improve the country's research and development standard sooner than expected.
The national government, under the Department of Education's Office of Higher Education, Science, Research and Technology, established the Secretariat last year to improve not only the standard of research and development in the country, but also create wealth and grow the economy through research and sustainable development. CEO of PNG Science and Technology, Professor Teatulohi Matainaho, heads the new Secretariat. When giving an overview of the Secretariat's roles and functions in research and sustainable development at the UPNG, he admitted that there was a big gap that needed to be bridged in terms of funding and infrastructure capacity to achieve its vision of creating a wealthier, healthier and smarter future for PNG.
We're starting on creating a future where science and technology becomes a drive for the development of this country.
Professor Matainaho said there are a total of 15 research projects that come under the Secretariat's care. The impact projects include the Pacific Adventist University's Biofuel Project and Renewable Energy Development, Biodiversity in Natural Products and Oil Development at the School of Natural and Physical Sciences, UPNG, Drug Discovery and Herbal Medicines Development at UPNG School of Medicine and Health Sciences, and a snakebite and antivenom clinical trial by the same school. These projects are the first to be funded by the Secretariat this year.
This is what the Secretariat, this is what the Council is all about. It's about managing, developing a plan and managing a fund.
He told the conference that the Secretariat will work collectively with the National Planning and Monitoring Department, other government departments, and research institutions to build the country's research and development capacity in the next 5 years. The Secretariat was allocated 4.2 million kina in its operational budget for year 2015 and is awaiting its Public Investment Program or PIP funding upon thorough discussion with the National Planning Department this week. Delhi Bagu, National MTV News.
Now to one of our top stories tonight. PNG will have a new voting system come 2017. The system is one of the benefits under the PNG National Identity Project launched today by the National Planning and Monitoring Minister, Charles Abel. PNG NID is an ID card system that will have personal information and statistics of all citizens.
The importance of this rollout is we are going to
National statistician Rocco Koloma today announced the launching of NID and the signing ceremony between Electoral Commission and Civil Registry to partner with NID in providing reliable services to the people of PNG.
The importance of this rollout is we are going to re-enroll the whole country, people, especially from birth to the whole age who are alive. So I think birth registration should be mentioned in it because that is where the starting point is.
The system prevents double voting because your identity will appear on the screen once the ID card is presented. It is a reform into the Electoral Commission, Civil Registry and National Statistics Office to keep up to date with the national census and electoral roll. The information from the census will be available annually instead of 10 years census cycle. 55 million kina has been allocated for the project in the 2015 budget.
But at the end of the day, it's about better organizing the planning process by having better information for development. And something we've lacked for a long time is knowing exactly some of the detailed information about our people and the demographic, that is the number of women, number of men and number of children, knowing the health status, the education status, where they live, so that we can better plan our development programs.
Other benefits of having this national identity card are that you can open bank accounts and have access to small business loans. You will also have access to subsidized healthcare and school fees. People living with disabilities and underprivileged can present the ID card to get pensions. Electoral Commission Andrew Trawan said this is a very significant project.
What information the NID is collecting in and put in the data will be useful to us later on when we have the next election 5 years later after 2017. So we will continue to access the database in NID.
The pilot project will first start in Yalibu Pangia electorate and Prime Minister Peter O'Neill will be the first person to register. All citizens are encouraged to register as it is not a sign of 666. If you do not register, then you will miss out on its benefits. Civil registry offices will also be set up in all districts and provinces of PNG. It will make it easier for people to get the birth certificate. With the manual electoral counting system, it takes 3 to 4 weeks to declare a winner. However, with the National Identity Project, it narrows down to 2 to 3 days to declare a winner. Vasinata Yama, National MTV News.
Enga Governor Peter Epatas has called on members of Parliament and the public to allow the process on Prime Minister Peter O'Neill's tribunal to take its course. Governor Epatas said it is in the best interest of the nation to allow the judiciary arm of government to play its role and not for external forces to compromise the tribunal.
The Enga governor called a news conference recently to share his concern on the referral of Prime Minister Peter O'Neill to a leadership tribunal. Governor Epatas says the nation should refrain from interfering with the tribunal or make any statement. Epatas says the country is going through immense change in infrastructure with much focus on growing the economy and service delivery.
It is for the tribunal to make its own findings, and of course that's where decisions will be made. But prior to that, I want to call on all citizens, all leaders of these nations, to allow the process to continue as it is.
He acknowledged the work of the judiciary arm of government as it performs its role. Governor Ipata says PNG should not waste time and play politics, but realize the importance of stability in the government of the day.
All the people of this nation, all our politicians to be patient, allow the process itself to continue. There is no need for anybody to suggest that the Prime Minister should step aside.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Peter O'Neill said the decision to acquire the UBS loan was an NEC decision. He reiterated that he is innocent and says evidence will be presented as the tribunal is set.
For a tribunal to be set up, and we welcome that. I want to clearly state that we welcome the reference by the public prosecutor, so that we can now start debating these issues and arguing these cases on the basis of evidence. And the evidence will be produced in court, and the independent court can make those decisions.
Jack Lapawe Jr., National EMTV News.
Steamships will be constructing a hotel in Kiunga, Western Province. This is in partnership with the Oktedi Development Foundation. Meanwhile, construction is expected to begin next year. A signing ceremony was effected today between Steamships and OTDF.
The important signing ceremony, which will see the construction of the proposed Cassowary Hotel in Kiunga, Western Province, was done today in Port Moresby. The signing was done between Steamships Finance Director Sean Pelling and Ian Middleton and Oktedi Development Foundation Chief Executive Officer, and witnessed by the Middle Fly, North Fly and South Fly Trust Chairman. Also present were Western Province Governor Ati Wabiro and Provincial Administrator Dr. Modowa Gumoy. Steamships, through its businesses Pacific Palms Property and Coral Sea Hotels, will construct the hotel. Pacific Palms Property, responsible for developments such as Waigani Central, Grand Papua and the Harborside development, will be managing the construction of the hotel on behalf of OTDF. It is expected to start next year with completion in mid-2016. Coral Sea Hotels will lease and operate the hotel. The project will have 45 rooms together with a meeting room, restaurant, bar and shopping conveniently located on the outskirts of Kiunga. Oktedi Development Foundation is the legal entity that manages community development benefits from the Oktedi mine operations on behalf of the 100,000 residents living in the 156 villages throughout Western Province. Western Province Governor Ati Wabiro commended the OTDF and Steamships for the initiative, saying it was such partnerships which the province was looking to get into with the private sector to develop the province. Delhi Bagu, National EMTV News.
And now we take a look at the finance news. The Kina closed unchanged at $0.393 US in the interbank market, and at Bank South Pacific, your Kina was buying $0.3855 US, $0.4440 Australian dollars, $0.3038 euro, and 45.04 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold and copper closed lower, coffee and copper closed higher. Meanwhile, palm oil closed unchanged, crude oil and copper closed higher. And finally, on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 2 points lower, the ASX closed at 83 points lower, and the All Ordinaries closed at 81 points lower. And after the break, the Laloki community cautious after 3 reported killings. Stay with us for the details. That's coming up next. Thanks for your company and welcome back to the news. The daily activities of villagers along the Laloki River have been disturbed following the recent deaths of 3 Highlanders on Sunday morning. Villagers at Iema have refrained from gardening and hunting in fear of their lives. The 3 men were believed to be killed while smuggling betel nuts across the Laloki River.
Iema village is home to over 500 Koyari people. It is located next to Laloki River. Since the betel nut ban was introduced last November, the village became a smuggling point for betel nut vendors.
Yeah, actually most of our village people here, we used to feel really frightened because people, when they come and smuggle this betel nut across this river.
In the past months, villagers have raised numerous concerns on their safety when carrying out their daily activities. However, nothing much was done to stop people using this land to smuggle betel nut.
Most of the times we used to see them and we used to tell them not to use this place. But you know, people, they survive with those things and they live with those money and betel nut money, so they never listen to us.
In the recent killings that occurred on Sunday night, police officers are yet to establish a murder motive and murder weapon. Despite Laloki being the nearest police station to the murder scenes, police officers here have confirmed they have not received any reports of the murders. It is also understood that no suspects have been arrested as yet. Meanwhile, transportation issues and lack of manpower remain some of the challenges police at Laloki face. Taklagunga, National, MTV News.
A resident at Mahuru village in the nation's capital is concerned with the crime rates and improper police relations with the public. He called on NCD Governor Paus Parkip and the NCD Operations Police Commander to look into the area and investigate the rogue policemen involved.
Your previous investigation in 2006.
Johnson Luimek says it's not the first time he has raised this point of rogue policemen and crime escalation in the area. He says violence, abuse and other social-related crimes are becoming a norm. Mr. Luimek's sister's house was allegedly burnt down by suspects early this month and nothing has been done despite reporting the matter to police. He says the fire department has also failed to provide a report on his family residence which burnt down in 2006.
Previous investigation in 2006, we have not cited any report yet.
As a long-time resident in the area, Mr. Luimek says civilians are working with policemen attached with the NCDC police. He provided photographs showing a police vehicle and civilians offloading confiscated betel nut bags to be resold in the area.
Crime is escalating. The place is used as a safe haven. Rogue policemen visit their place regularly to see their cohorts and friends. Some of these suspects seem to have police uniforms, police bulletproof vests. They seem to have police firearms.
Mr. Luimek says the Mahuru area is within the city and it is sad to see police and other authorities not taking action to curb crime. Jack Lepauve Jr., National, MTV News.
Turning over to news making headlines overseas now. In the United States, there's been a dramatic rescue in Chicago. A plane crashed into a home only a fraction away from where an elderly couple was sleeping.
Shortly after takeoff from Chicago's Midway Airport, the pilot radios for help.
I'd like to come back and land. I'm having trouble with the left engine.
The pilot, the only person on board, was just a quarter of a mile from the airport, but never made it back.
Are you still with me? He went down. He didn't make it to the airfield. He did not make it to the field. It looked like he just went down.
There are planes flying over this neighborhood all day, hundreds of homes in every direction.
The twin-engine prop plane crashed through the front of the home, through the living and dining rooms, and into the basement, killing the pilot. Sleeping in their bedroom, an elderly couple. Miraculously, both walking away without a scratch.
The wreckage now is about 8 inches away from them.
Neighbor Luz Casares ran in before rescue crews arrived.
I saw part of the airplane inside in the kitchen.
She helped to get the elderly couple to safety. Tonight, the couple's family relieved and grateful.
Can you describe your parents right now, all this, after all
they're
this?
They're in a safe place and they're really shooken up.
A very fortunate couple indeed. Australian Foreign Affairs Minister Julie Bishop has made a call to the United Nations for all countries to do everything they can to fight terrorism and the threat from ISIL.
The Foreign Minister arrived at the United Nations as Australia nears the end of its 2-year stint on the all-important UN Security Council. Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon welcomed her to a chilly New York, quite a contrast to their meeting last week at the G20 in Brisbane.
From 40 degrees to -4.
Julie Bishop sat at the top of the table as President of the Security Council and quickly moved on to the one issue now at the forefront of United Nations business.
There is no more pressing matter of national and international security than reducing the threat from terrorism.
The Minister pointed out Australia was getting tough on would-be terrorists, more so than most other countries at the moment, and even though it had, as she described, stirred a vigorous debate about privacy, the government intended pushing on with tough legislation.
The Australian government has cancelled the passports of more than 70 Australians suspected of planning to commit a terrorist act or engage in politically motivated violence overseas.
Ms Bishop is aware that many smaller countries don't have the finances or the intelligence organisations to keep track of would-be terrorists, and she says this is where the UN must help by appointing an envoy to manage things.
Every country has an obligation to prevent terrorism. Every country has an obligation not to export terrorist capabilities.
Australia finishes its term here at the United Nations Security Council at the end of next month, and taking our place, New Zealand.
And that wraps up our news segment tonight. Coming up after the break, we'll have all the updates of Day 4 of competitions of the 2014 PNG Games. Stay tuned for that.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. It is end of Day 4 of competitions in the BSB 6th PNG Games. And now we go back to NTV's Lorraine Genia at the Sir Ignatius Kilagi Stadium in Lae with tonight's updates.
Thank you, Takana. Before we go to the other stories, let me just recap on the medal tally. NCD has taken the lead with 10 gold, 7 silver and 5 bronze, followed by Team Central in second place, 21 medals, and in third place, the Autonomous Region of Bougainville with 7 gold and a total of 14 medals. Now they're closely followed by Marbe in 5th place. Also, 3 days of competitions for Rugby Sevens began today. This is the first time for Women's Sevens to be included in the PNG Games. Today saw some brilliant play from hosts Marbe and some devastating form from the Autonomous Region of Bougainville. All games were played at Lae's Scrum Oval. Team AROB had high expectations in dominating the Sevens competition at the BSB 6th PNG Games. Despite their struggle against NCD, the best is yet to come. AROB led 7-0 in the first 3 minutes of the first half, up until NCD's young guns on the wing outplayed superior Black Orchid and Puk Nathan Barman, taking the scoreboard up to 10-7 at halftime. Ball handling errors, slippery passes and missed tackles on the wing demonstrated poor form by AROB and certainly portrayed a lack of confidence on the wing. Puk captain Hubert Cheraha played off the bench, scoring the only 2 tries in the second half. Final score ending in favour of AROB 19-15. Captain Chitom Samoso wasn't pleased with the win, admitting there are a few things that need to be rectified.
You kami sa paggain mi pla sa still moral don pla game sa mi pla stop mi pla ready again lo next game don pla against Enga.
In other games, a strong Marbe side thrashed Sundown 50-0. Marbe's ability to switch play, run wide and make breaks from their 22 resulted in 3 runaway tries. Sundown lacked composure and control of the ball with 3 intercept passes on the loose. Marbe Sevens have stamped their authority on home ground and have proven they will be a force to be reckoned with. Games will continue till Friday, with finals expected to roll out on Saturday. Rugby history was made as this was the first time for women's sevens to be played in the PNG Games. Morobe played destructive football using their speed and aggression in the midfield to make a number of breaks against the Southern Highlands province, ending in a 10-all draw. And an East New Britain sevens team made up of teenagers won in forfeit to NCD. And in hockey, Team Morobe and Manus will be playing for gold tomorrow. Both teams have set an unbeaten record in the last 3 days to remain in the top position. Manus will be out to defend their gold medal from the 2012 PNG Games, while Morobe is set to maintain their winning streak.
Morobe has been consistent in the last 3 days, registering impressive wins over Hearts rival NCD and other provinces. Manus, on the other hand, have also been dominant in the games to defend the gold medal title from the 2012 PNG Games. Tournament director Thomas Kahai says this would be a strong game as Morobe will be out to revenge the loss to Manus from the Kokopo Games.
The standing in the men's ranking at the moment, Manus was very dominant in defending the medal playoffs. They were the 2012 gold medalist, beating Morobe at the Kokopo Games in 2012. They have also shown the dominance in this year's 2014 PNG Games in going through the competition rounds undefeated, only having a draw with Morobe, and they now face Morobe again in the finals playoff for the medal.
The women's gold medal playoff will also be between Manus and Morobe, with Team Morobe confident of defending the gold medal title. In the bronze playoff, Medang will take on NCD in both the men's and women's divisions. The tournament director was also impressed with the participation and performance from new Oki provinces like Milne Bay.
The ranking for the teams has really stood out as per the 2012, and they're still going, with Team Manus ranked number 1, Morobe, followed by NCD and Medang. So it's good to see a couple of new provinces that have really come in this year, with Milne Bay in the men's, and in both men and women for the Team West New Britain.
Meanwhile, the PNG Games is being used as a lead-up tournament towards the Oceania Pacific Cup in Fiji next month. A lot of young talents who are part of these PNG Games will be representing Papua New Guinea in the tournament. Sylvester Gawi, National EMTV Sports, Ley.
We'll be back with more stories from Ley after the break.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports live from Ley. Up until the day before the opening ceremony, Games officials weren't clear if Gulf Province was at all going to be part of the PNG Games. The province, riddled with allegations of corruption and administrative inefficiency, saved face when a Ley-based karate club put up its hand to represent Team Gulf. The team has been training for more than a year, both for the PNG Games and other international tournaments, and say they aim to win.
For Sensei Rickinson McCary, Gulf Province could not go unrepresented in the PNG Games. His Ram Shotokan Karate Club has been in training for the last 2 years. Earlier this year, they announced they would represent Team Gulf in the PNG Games.
Team Gulf is the only code that they represent them in karate. And Lugluglo medal prospect, we have a good number of athletes. And we've been camping and training for almost a year.
But just days before the start of the Games, the Gulf Provincial Sports Authorities announced that Gulf wasn't going to participate because of a lack of funding. That left only one option for the Ley-based karate club to take on representative duties. So when the opening ceremony came, Ram Shotokan Karate Club became Team Gulf and wore the Gulf colors and marched into the stadium under the Gulf flag. The team members come from all over Papua New Guinea: New Ireland, the Highlands, Bougainville, East Sepik, Milne Bay, Manus, and of course, Gulf. They're looking for some serious medal competition in the full contact, point contact, weapons and kata competitions. Some of the stiffest competition will come from New Ireland, which has brought one of the biggest martial arts contingent to the PNG Games. Scott Wide, National EMTV Sports, Ley.
And just an update on the Taekwondo finals this afternoon. Team Central beat East New Britain in the gold playoffs, leaving silver for one of the favourites of the tournaments, NCD. The matches were also covered live, but an official endorsement on the medals will have to come from the PNG Games office. And in soccer, a 1-1 draw opened the women's matches at the LFA grounds as Manus and NCD fought it out. But the match between Enga and Southern Highlands would provide lots of entertainment in the Highlands derby. Jeremy Moggy reports.
Having lost to the autonomous region of Bougainville 3-0 the day before, Enga were focused on getting full points as they met with the Southern Highlands. Nerves aside, it had appeared to be a slow start, although Enga did open the scoring early, belting the ball into the top of the net to send their supporters into rapture. For their part, the Southern Highlands struggled to gain any good possession of the ball, and aside from a single through ball to no one, spent much of the match defending. Their keeper saving the day on more than one occasion to keep the final score a narrow 1-0 in favour of Enga. Manus, on the other hand, had to fight hard against an NCD side, the 1-1 draw earning Manus a reprieve. Their men's team fared far better, the Chaco boys in a commanding 3-0 victory over a lackluster NCD, who were booed on occasion by a crowd disappointed with the capital's performance. Manus have now topped Pool A in the men's division. In Pool B, biggest contenders are those guys behind me who are Madang. They remain the strongest in that particular group. In Pool C, it is a three-way tussle between West New Britain, Enga, and host Morabe. And in Pool D, the final group, that is New Ireland, who will top that group after having 2 wins and a draw. Jeremy Moggy, National EMTV Sports, Ley.
Earlier in the day, Manus went into the match full of confidence in the knowledge that all they needed was a draw to qualify top of Pool A of the men's competition. NCD, however, were outclassed and Manus came out on top 3-0 in the second half. And that's it from the Lay crew. It's back to you, Takana.
Thank you. And that was MTV's Lorraine Genia with the updates of the 6th BSP PNG Games. And that wraps up our True Kind Sports segment for tonight. I'll give you all the weather details coming up after the break. Stay with us.
True Kai Sports. True Kai Sports.
Looking at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in southern region, Port Moresby to expect evening showers with possible thunderstorms, fine weather expected in Daru, late evening showers in Alotau, Popondetta and Karama. In Momase, all centres relatively fine. In the New Guinea Islands, fine weather expected in Lorengau and Kavieng, few showers in Buka and evening showers anticipated in Rabaul and Kimbe. And in the Highlands region, Mount Hagen, Goroka and Kundiawa, fine weather, then morning fog. In Mendi and Wabeg, evening showers, then morning fog. Forecast for small ships, looking at waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwai Island, including eastern and western Milne Bay Islands, seas of 1.5 meters to 2.5 meters. Waters east of Daru to Kiwai Island, Karama to Yule Island, through to Hood Point to Arama Coast, Samarai Island, including New Island to New Britain and Bougainville, seas of 0.5 meters to 1.5, and waters of Samarai Island through to Cape Vogel to Wasu Point to Finschhafen, including waters of Manus and its western group of islands, west long of Medang, Bogia through to Wewak, Aitape, Vanimo and the northern PNG Indonesian border, seas of 1 meter to 2 meters. And looking at ocean forecasts for PNG areas, Coral Sea sees moderate with patches of rough with east to southeast winds at 20 to 34 knots. Solomon Sea sees moderate to patchy, rather rough with southwest winds at 15 to 25 knots. Bismarck Sea sees slight to moderate with northeast winds at 10 to 20 knots. And lastly, Pacific Ocean sees slight with northeast winds at 10 to 15 knots. Quickly recapping our main stories again before we go. International Monetary Fund reveals that recovery of global economy following the financial crisis in 2008 has been slow. Also, National Planning Department introduces new voting system using ID cards, and the autonomous region of Bougainville has taken over the lead in the PNG Games medal tally. Well, that's been the news, sports and weather tonight. On behalf of the news crew, I'm Tokana Hasavi. Thanks for your company. You take care and stay safe. Good night.